All right, peace and greetings, YouTubers. So I got a chance to watch the documentary The Greatest Night in Pop. Now this is a documentary about the creation and the release of the charity single We Are the World. Now if you follow me, you know I am a big music dork. I love all things music documentaries, so this was right up my alley. I had been waiting for this one to come out, and so I definitely recommend checking this out. I am giving some spoilers, so if you want to wait to see the documentary, I suggest going and seeing it first before you watch my review, because I'm definitely going to talk about a few different scenes and stuff here and there. But overall, I thought it was a really great watch. I think these kind of documentaries are important mainly because we already know they don't really have a lot of music history in schools the same way they used to. And even with television and programming, things have really changed. You know, I feel like musically, as far as like history and just understanding different eras from before your time, there was a period where if you weren't around for something, you were still kind of educated on it based on what was showing on the music network, specifically a network like VH1. And I think even at the end of the documentary, there's a portion where Smokey Robinson says a bit where he's like, you know, even kids who weren't born will remember this song or will know this song, you know, in their lifetime. And I think I kind of fall right into that same category because this song is before my time. But again, growing up in an era where I feel like anybody born between about, I don't know, 86 to maybe 94, 95, have that memory of turning to something like VH1 and there's all of this historical content on in regards to music, and MTV was doing the same thing, BET was doing the same thing, and so you still had an element of familiarity with things from different eras that weren't necessarily yours. So, you know, I just feel like something like this is a great watch for anybody, for like any generation. You know what I mean? And so they just jump into the details of everything and how Harry Belafonte really felt that, hey, we need to do like more charity work. There's all these things happening, and you know, it'll be great if we get like some black musicians to get together and come up with this great song. And it just grows into a bigger project, and before you know it, now they're not just focusing on, you know, R&B soul singers, they're including the country singers and the pop singers and the rock singers and the jazz singers, and before you know it, they have this plethora of artists who are going to all get together and record this charity single. And so it's a very interesting watch. It's mainly told through the lens of Lionel Richie. You know, he's one of what you would call, I guess you could say, the original four that helped to put it together. So that's Michael Jackson, that's Quincy Jones, that's Stevie Wonder, and that's Lionel Richie. You know, that's like those four. But the documentary more so highlights that a lot of the major writing and the composition of the song and just the build-up is really between Michael and Lionel, and Stevie kind of comes in and does his Stevie magic, and Quincy comes in and does his Quincy magic, and that's how we end up getting this really great song. And so it's a great watch, very entertaining. It's interesting to see just how they put it together. They talk about just the challenge of trying to get everybody together, right? Because this is the era before email, before cell phones and text messages, and they highlight how hard it was to kind of get in contact with folks. So even with Stevie Wonder, where it's like, you know, you call Stevie Wonder, but you're not going to hear back for about 2 or 3 weeks because he's busy and everything. And it's not like you can send him a text and he's going to just respond, you know what I mean? And so, you know, it was interesting seeing that, but it's almost like the stars just perfectly aligned because the recording session was going to be the same night as the American Music Awards, which oddly enough was on a Monday. So, you know, just getting everybody together on a Monday night, you know, at the A&M studios is a story in itself, but it was very interesting just seeing how they were able to pull their magic and make things happen. You know, Quincy's making calls, you know, Stevie's making calls, Michael's doing his thing, Lionel's making calls. And it's funny hearing the entertainers that are on a song talking about how they get on it. You know, Dionne Warwick wasn't even in town at night, and, you know, she gets the call saying, well, I need you to be here. And, you know, Dionne is Dionne. She said, I ain't coming out there. What am I coming out there for? You know, then they explained it, and she's like, okay, you know, I'm gonna get on the plane, I guess. You have Bruce Springsteen, who's wrapping up, I want to say, the second or third leg of his tour. Like they recorded in like January of '85, and Bruce Springsteen was on tour, and this was like the break before he would go back into his Asia leg of the tour, I think that March, right? And so just trying to get in all these different people to get into one place and record, and then just some of the tit for tats with management and which artists can we get and which ones can, and you know, is it going to be Madonna or Cyndi Lauper, all those kind of conversations. Very, very interesting. So I just love seeing all the backgrounds, and of course they have insight and input from all of these different people who were part of the song, people who worked at the labels, and different artists who were also in the studio when it was time to record, right? Even the cameraman got his shine, right? The cameraman that's telling the narrative of what it's like to, you know, just have cameras in the faces of all these people while they're recording and while they're singing. So it was really cool. One of the parts that made me laugh was Lionel Richie talking about, you know, working on a song with Michael, and you know, they're trying to come up with how to, you know, put the song together. And it's interesting too because songwriting comes in so many different variations. Some people have lyrics already and then they build around that. Some people just have a melody in their head and they build around that. Some people, you know, are more so producers and they've made this beautiful track and then they try to figure out, well, what can we do with it? And then, you know, maybe they start humming a melody around the track and then eventually lyrics come. And so there's just so many ways that people work and move when it comes to creating a song. So hearing Lionel talk about how he and Michael Jackson kind of go back and forth and start putting pieces together, and how Michael wanted to go and kind of demo his ideas and then present them, like, really cool. But what was funny is Lionel starts talking about, you know, being at the Jackson family compound, right? And all the animals that they got. You know, Michael's got Bubbles coming out. You know, I want you to meet Bubbles. And then I think they said that they had a bird that was fighting with the dog. Because, you know, the Jacksons already had all kind of animals back in the day anyway. This is before Neverland. You know, even the Jackson family compound, they had tigers and llamas and stuff. Like, imagine going to somebody's house. You know, you're walking up to the fence and a llama comes and greets you at the fence. And they're talking about, oh, just come on and he won't bother you. Just walk around. Like, so that was really funny to me. I had a good laugh watching that. But yeah, it was a very interesting watch. And so what I really thought was cool, because like I said, I'm a music dork. I love just the idea of how they build this song. Because think about it. You have, you know, I think it was 49 artists specifically that were on this song. Think about the challenge of trying to assign who's going to sing what and where they're going to sing it and what's this person's key and what's that person's key. Like, with them putting the song together, it was like they were listening to the catalogs of all these different artists and seeing where their ranges were and you know, who could hit this note, who could hit that note. I loved what they talked about when they said Tina Turner, and you would think that they would have given Tina Turner, you know, one of the big high power notes, because when you think of Tina, you think of, like, you know, River Deep Mountain High, it gets stronger, like, you think of that. But they're like, no, she has this really healthy, rich bottom that she can sing in. So let's get her to sing one of the lows in the early verses, because she has this rich tone down there. I was like, okay, cool, right? And so they just kind of start talking about all the different things. You know, we'll have this artist come in, and we'll have this artist come in, and then we'll have Bruce Springsteen follow. Then this is where Dion's gonna come in, and then this is where Al Jarreau's gonna come in, and just all these different things to just really build the song, which I thought was super, super cool, right? And I loved watching them record, right? Understand that recording back then is very different from recording now. Like, today, there's so much help, right? You can do everything digitally. It's to the point where if you're recording a song, say you record a stanza, and the first half of the stanza you just nailed, like you hit the money note, but then the second half of the stanza, maybe you get real pitchy or whatever. It's to the point where you can splice a stanza, right? Just keep the first 3 words and then have them come, you know, re-record that whole piece, but just paste in the second half of the stanza that you need and merge it together. That really quite wasn't a thing all the way yet in '85, right? And so, you know, we're still doing everything on tape, right? And lots of recording and re-recording. And so just seeing everyone have to be in this vulnerable state of just raw appeal as entertainers and vocalists, and just think about how nervous you have to be. Because I was thinking, like, man, just imagine you're on this song, right? And it's your time to sing the verse. Because, mind you, everybody was in the room together. It wasn't like everybody got their own quiet booth to record in. No, everybody up front, you, come sing your part, right? So imagine, like, you're about to do your solo, and to your right is Dionne Warwick. Like, the nerve of wanting to open your mouth next to her and sing, you better come correct. And, you know, you got, who else? And Stevie's right there, and Ray Charles and everything. And even, like, and then because Ray and Stevie can't see, the hearing is more enhanced. So you really got to come correct, because if you are pitchy or off key or flat or under the note, or you didn't quite lift very well, oh, they're going to hear it. Like, the nerves that had to be rattling some of these entertainers while they're in there singing. Like, just all of these great entertainers. Harry Belafonte's in the room, right? You get Kenny Rogers in the room, Kenny Loggins in the room, like all these different people that are just ready. The Pointer Sisters are in there. And I'm sure that there is still some elements of competition, even though they put the sign talking about leave your ego at the door and everything. And this is for a good cause. We're helping to, you know, feed children all around the world, and children that have been starving. And this is for a greater cause. This is not about you. This is about a movement. You know, you're still going to have those moments where you still, depending on what entertainer you are, you still want to really make sure you come in there and shake things down and really show out vocally, you know, as far as your singing and everything. And so it was really, really great to watch that. It was interesting, too, because Bob Dylan, you know, I'm familiar with Bob Dylan as far as the music. I've never really been that familiar with him as a person. I never knew he was so elusive, right? Very introverted, very timid, nimble, kind of a little skittish. I would have never known. And they have the portion where they show him, like, just even with him just singing the hook, it was like, it just was something that was out of his element. And then, you know, what I love though is like Stevie Wonder becomes the voice of reason. And when they were trying to get Bob Dylan to just do some ad-libs, because he didn't really know where to come in or what to do, Stevie literally sits at the piano, and because Stevie has paid attention to everybody's vocal ability and how they all sing, he's literally imitating Bob Dylan, doing ad-libs, so Bob can kind of catch on and say, okay, maybe I should try that, I should try that. And then that's when Bob is comfortable. I was like, that's really cool. Like, Stevie is a gem. Like, I hope people really appreciate this man while he's here. I feel like sometimes he doesn't get his flowers. I think because we're just so used to him being around, and we're just so used to just always having him in the corner ready to do somebody's tribute or do whatever. I don't think people realize how great it is to have him here still. You know what I mean? And so I loved all of that. It was dope to see Lionel Richie kind of keeping everybody together, keeping the energy high. They talk about how it starts to get hot in there. People are tired. Mind you, this is after a 2 or 3 hour award show, right? They're recording at 1 or 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, right? And understand, the voice does get tired. And for some artists who have been on tour, like a Bruce Springsteen, after you get off a tour, this is when you need to go on vocal rest so you can have the energy and the resilience and the stamina to do another leg and still have any element of resonance in your voice, right? And so it was just really, really cool to just see how everybody worked together to kind of make this song happen. One of my favorite parts is when they give Harry Belafonte his flowers, right? You know, they're all in there. And then, you know, they take a moment to just highlight that without Harry Belafonte having this bright idea, none of this would be possible. And the fact that someone thought to consider the plight and the livelihood of others, and with that thought and with that wanting of ensuring that people are well, let's get everybody who is in a capacity to make some kind of inspirational change through their artistry and through their entertainment to get together, and let's create a charity single. So when they start singing the Banana Boat song to him, I thought that was really, really cool. Even though I'm laughing because, like, look, Al Jarreau had that part down. Like, Al Jarreau was in there just singing down for the tribute, and then when it was time for Al Jarreau to do his part on the song, he done had too much celebration juice. And so Al Jarreau was feeling a little good that day, but you know, they were able to get him where he needed to be. But I enjoyed it. Like, it's just really cool to kind of see everybody just explain what it's like to be in a room. And it's dope that you also have a lot of the artists who were there talking about their experience. So was Cyndi Lauper or a Sheila E. and everybody who's, you know, saying, well, this is what was happening when we were there. And when I was there, this is what happened. And I didn't know if I had this part down. And all of that was really cool. I think one of the most famous clips, if you spend a lot of time on social media, everybody always remembers the clip of Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, and Kim Carnes, right? When they're doing the portion that comes right after Michael Jackson sings his part. And you constantly see them trying to redo it over and over and over and over. So it was kind of cool to get the context behind that and how even that 3-part harmony was not initially in the song, but it became an idea to kind of just fill it up more, to fill that sound more. And then even when they were trying to figure out the technical difficulties with the sound because something was off, and then it turns out Cyndi Lauper had all that jewelry and the beads and they're like, oh, you gotta take all that off. No wonder, you know, the mic is getting all this feedback. So that was really cool. I love where there was some B-roll, and it's Dion, it's Lionel, and it's Diana just kicking it, hanging. Like, I don't think people realize just how much legacy was in that room. And I love that all three of them are still with us too, just out there kicking it and chopping it up. I think my absolute favorite bit with everything, because honestly, this is a song I never really listened to like that. Like, it's a song that I've always known, just because, again, it's kind of one of those songs that I think is, it's a milestone in music that there's certain milestones people are going to always remember. You know, people will always remember Beatlemania. They'll remember Jackson 5 Mania. You know, they'll remember the Thriller album. They're going to remember Purple Rain. They're going to remember Private Dancer. They're going to remember Born in the USA. They're going to remember, you know, what else? We'd be here all day. Whatever, like the Virgin album and all these different projects that came out back in the day, and Earth, Wind & Fire doing what they did. And there's going to be certain tours people will always remember, right? You know, people are going to always remember, you know, the Victory Tour, or the, you know, the Blonde Ambition Tour, or Formation Tour, and all these different tours, and Rhythm Nation. It's like all these different things people always remember. And so, you know, just going back to the song, when you really just sit and listen to all of the different textures vocally on the song, especially with the verses, I think to me that's what makes the song a gem. And that's kind of one of the beefs I do have with music today. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but while I'm here, let me go ahead and say how I feel. One of the things that I don't like right now with music is there's an obsession to have what you call the perfect vocal, right? And when I say perfect vocal, it's almost that you put so much EQ filter and compression and pitch correction and auto-tune that artists sound literally perfect on every song for the duration of their album. There's no popping in their voice when they go from their chest voice to their head voice. Somehow they magically can transition out of their chest into their head voice in one note without that pop that most singers end up getting. Or, you know, there's not a grit or a rawness. There's none of that because they made it so perfect, and then everybody's voice is almost digitized, right? It just makes it really, really hard to get into a lot of the newer artists because their voices are not as distinguishable. So when you listen to like this original version of We Are the World, you can recognize who is who just by listening, right? You know, when Huey Lewis comes in on his part, you're going to know that's Huey Lewis. When Cyndi Lauper comes in on her, you know that's Cyndi Lauper. You automatically know that's Tina Turner. Dion has a voice that automatically stands out. You're always going to know. Diana, Michael, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, Lionel, like all of these people have distinctive voices. And I think, unfortunately, because the music industry is just in this weird space right now, that necessity to sound pitch perfect, and it happens on award shows now where they put the compression and everything and all that stuff in the microphones already. It's just everyone sounds so perfect, but everybody's voice is almost digitized, so there's no personality behind it anymore. It's not everybody, and it's not saying that current artists cannot sing. We know they can sing, but I think just this is like, what's the show, Glee? I could never watch that show because I hated the vocals. Everybody could sing. Amber Riley could sing you under a table, but by the time they put all the polishing and stuff on all the vocals, you could never appreciate the performances because they sounded so perfect. And a lot of the movies that come out in modern times, especially like with musicals and stuff, I don't know the name of the movie. It's a great movie, but it's like Dolly Parton and Keke Palmer and Queen Latifah are in it. Great vocals, but again, they put all of that stuff on the vocals where it strips away the personalities from the voices. So you still know it's them, but that rawness, that that makes an artist have that to them is just not there. That's the only beef I had. But going back, listening to the textures and just hearing all these different artists, I think that's what make the song work. You know what I mean? I didn't get a chance to go over every artist that was on here, but just to name a few. Some of the artists that were on there: Lionel Richie, Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, Kenny Rogers, James Ingram, Tina Turner, Billy Joel, Michael Jackson, Diana Ross, Dionne Warwick, Willie Nelson, who I had no idea. I did not know he's like 90 right now. Why did I think Willie Nelson was still in his 70s? Al Jarreau, Bruce Springsteen, Kenny Loggins, Steve Perry, Daryl Hall, okay, Hall & Oates, yep, Huey Lewis, Cyndi Lauper, Kim Carnes, Bob Dylan, Ray Charles, I think I said Ray Charles already, Dan Aykroyd, Harry Belafonte, Lindsey Buckingham, Sheila E., Bill Gibson, Jackie Jackson, Marlon Jackson, Randy Jackson, Tito Jackson, LaToya Jackson. By the way, I ain't gonna lie, I just know for sure, because again, there were a lot of people who were not on the song who didn't get to make it. I just know somebody probably watched that music video, and this is not even a diss to LaToya, but I just know one of them singers that probably wanted to be on the song saw that music video and saw LaToya with that headband and was like, I know you lying. I know you lying. LaToya's a sweetheart, but I'm just saying, I know some people felt some kind of way, like, okay, I guess. I like LaToya though, she's funny to me. Bette Midler, John Oates, Jeffrey Osborne, Anita Pointer, June Pointer, Ruth Pointer. One of the Pointer sisters wasn't there, but and Smokey Robinson, and I think I skipped a few people, but just again, getting all those people together in one room to make something so great. And what's so dope about it is it's cross-generational. It's not just the new kids. It wasn't just Cyndi Lauper, right? It wasn't just the new kids. It's a mix of some who were a bit more seasoned, who had been in the game for a little bit longer. So there's the Michael Jacksons and the Pointer Sisters in them, and then you got those who were already legends back then. You know, Dion, Ray Charles, right? Kenny Rogers. Just all of these different people who cross-generational. And then across different genres, again, pop, R&B, soul, rock and roll, country, jazz, just all of these different spaces. And I think that's what made the song work, because all of these different artists have their own interpretation of music and how they would like to share it with the world. And you get all of them in the room together, and they got the synergy and camaraderie, and then you get this great song. Everybody's in a good mood. Everybody has an open ear to trying new things. And so now you have people who would never do a song together blending together, you know, doing 2- and 3-part harmonies, you know, coming in after each other doing ad-libs. Like, that's what makes music music. Can this same thing happen today? I believe it can. I do think we're in a really weird space in music, but I think this can happen because we've seen them. They did the We Are the World 25 for Haiti in 2009 or 2010, right? And that had a lot of the acts of the time, but also still had some season ones. If I can remember, that had like Justin Bieber and like Nicole Scherzinger and Mary J. Blige and Natalie Cole, Gladys Knight. Carlos Santana. It was a bunch of different artists that were on that one as well. I don't remember everybody who was on there. So, you know, Pink, you know, there's definitely an opportunity for these kind of things to happen. But I think the bigger conversation is, I don't think it would have the same impact because I don't think music is the same shared collective experience that it once was. I've been saying that a lot on this channel as of late. But I just don't think we have that collective experience in music anymore. And it's because we now have so many outlets in how we consume music that we're not all on the same wave anymore. So when you just go back 30, 40 years ago, right, there's only so many radio stations. There's only so many outlets to watch music videos. You know, YouTube isn't a thing yet. You only had MTV, VH1, BET, depending on where you lived and what kind of cable package you had. And then there were a few smaller networks and shows and everything else like that, right? You know, and when we're talking about the 80s, before cable really blows up in the mid-80s, if you're talking like 81 to about 85, when cable is still trying to make its rounds around the country, right? This is that period where a lot of America is all watching the same thing. A lot of America is just watching what's on the major handful of networks. Not everybody has cable. So when they do have some kind of music special, right, it's being watched by 30, 40, 50 million people. I can guarantee you right now, the Grammys come on this Sunday, and I bet you the Grammys are going to have less than 15 million viewers. Watch, we'll see. But, you know, so that idea of like a collective experience with music where when things are done and it touches everybody, it's just different. You know, like a #1 song in 2024 doesn't have the same meaning as a #1 song in 2004, let alone 1994 and especially 1984. It's just a different time. And this is not me on my soapbox complaining, but just kind of being observant of just how different things are. But I think this is a great watch. Check it out. I hope I didn't spoil too much of it, but it's just really good. If you're somebody who's just really into music and you love the backstory of how songs are put together, it's a great watch. I really enjoyed this. And I love the quote at the end where, I can't remember who said it, but there was a quote where it was saying like, enjoy coming home to this, right? And what they meant was like, when you come home, your family's there, the kids, the wife, the dog, the certain smells of the kitchen from whoever was cooking and all that kind of stuff. Because one day the house will still be here, but the people won't. And so then they kind of referenced the studio, right? How, you know, they did it at the A&M studio. And at that time, everybody was in that room. But now we're in this modern era in 2024, and you know, it shows Lionel sitting in that empty studio, nobody's in there, and he could kind of remember where every person was sitting, right? And sadly, a lot of those people aren't here with us anymore. You know, Tina's gone. That one, I'm still mad I didn't go to that tour in 2009. I had a chance to go and didn't go, like, oh, I'll catch her later. Like she wasn't already 69 then, right? I'm still punching myself for not going to that tour. You know, Michael is gone. You just all these different people who have passed on. You know, Al Jarreau is gone. And so, you know, just understanding that we all live in these specific eras, and then, you know, Father Time calls us home, and then the next generation comes up and comes up and comes up. And I think that's why it's important to have these kind of documentaries to kind of keep that history there, so that these narratives and these songs and how they impacted society don't become forgotten, right? Anyway, I am out. The next documentary I'm really excited to watch is the Luther Vandross one. It just premiered at Sundance. Don Porter directed it, which is really cool because when I was still working for a magazine, I got to interview Don Porter after she did her documentary Trapped. So I think it's really cool that she has a Luther Vandross documentary coming out. So we'll definitely talk about that one when that comes out as well. Anyway, I'm out. Share your 2 cents. Subscribe.